Hare Krishna, Namaste. Chapter 15 is entitled as Puruṣottama Vidya Puruṣottama Yogam. Sloka 3 and 4, Part 3. Na rūpam asyeha tathopalabhyate, nānto na cādir na ca sampratiṣṭhā, aśvattham enaṁ su-virūḍha-mūlam, asaṅga-śastreṇa dṛḍhena chittvā, padaṁ parimārgitavyaṁ, yasmin gatā na nivartanti bhūyaḥ, tameva cādyaṁ puruṣaṁ prapadye, yataḥ pravṛttiḥ prasṛtā purāṇī. We are in the second part of this two slokas. Aśvattham enaṁ su-virūḍha-mūlam, asaṅga-śastreṇa dṛḍhena chittvā, padaṁ parimārgitavyaṁ, yasmin gatā na nivartanti bhūyaḥ. In the previous session, we stopped with a question: if prayachitta is not a solution to rectify all our sins, what other option we have? By what means can I cut this tree off? Let's see the answer. Asaṅga-śastreṇa dṛḍhena chittvā. This tree, which is very strong and deeply rooted with many roots, can only be cut by an axe, not the axe which is made of iron, but axe of detachment, vairagya. And that detachment must be strong, meaning we cannot cut this tree with an weak axe. When we strike the tree with a weak axe, rather than breaking the tree, the axe itself breaks. The weak axe is nothing but the detachment that comes due to some material emotions or some unpleasant events that takes place in one's life, which makes them to become detached. That is a sign of weak act. Due to force or unavoidable and unpleasant situations of life, one becomes seemingly detached. But the problem with that is, when the situation becomes better, when the situation changes the condition, the current condition, that time the axe breaks, meaning that person goes back to his attachment, rather continuing to be detached. Therefore, such detachments which happens with such conditions are known to be as weak acts. Say, due to sickness, one avoids eating certain items. But when that person is cured, he goes back to those eatables or drinks. This is a sign of a weak act. He has avoided eating certain items not out of detachment, because he was told to do so. That's all. A husband becomes detached from his wife because of some clashes, some fights between them. That's a sign of a weak act. Because when the situation changes, the axe breaks. Or even, say for the sake of argument, if the husband has separated from his wife due to some issues, fights, his mind still ponders on the past events. He sometimes feels pity about himself, or he finds peace and happiness by getting involved in other activities like consuming alcohol watching movie, or even try to find another partner. These are all signs of weak acts. Sometimes we see parents become very detached from their children, not because of their maturity in spirituality, rather their children are not listening. Out of that frustration, they become more detached with them. And this is also a sign of weak act. Because once the children comes back and gives the father a gift or speaks some sweet words, the father melts. The weapon of detachment breaks. We see sometimes some people doesn't care for respect, honor. They seem to be very renounced. But the fact is that it is not due to their detachment. It is because they are really not qualified to be respected or honored. When they develop the skills or whatever it is needed to obtain respect and honor, then they obviously become attached to the respect and honor, which is a sign of weak acts. A person who is working for a big company in a big position, he just renounces his job, may not necessarily because of detachment, because he found a better job, better position with better salary, or he had some unpleasant experience in his job. So it is said here, tataḥ. The real detachment is when it continues throughout the period. Irrespective one has a job or not, one is detached. Irrespective the children listens or doesn't, one is still detached. Irrespective if the spouse cooperative or not, still detached. Irrespective if one is sick or not, still one is detached from eating certain things. Irrespective one has the skills or not, still detached from the respect or honor or even dishonor. Therefore, Krishna says that acts should be strong enough. dṛḍhena. How does the acts be strong? It becomes stronger with full knowledge. If we don't have a full knowledge about the samsara, like how Krishna has explained in the first two slokas, then our detachment will be weak. Our determination will be weak. And obviously with a weak act, we cannot cut this samsara tree. asaṅga-śastreṇa dṛḍhena chittvā. With a strong act, detachment with full knowledge, good knowledge, shastric knowledge, gained through proper channel, becomes the determination of these acts. One understands that happiness or distress in the samsara is temporary. Therefore, he has the strong acts of detachment to be permanently free from material happiness and distress. He also has the knowledge, knows that liking and disliking are due to three modes, which is influencing him due to his own karma and vasana. He knows sometimes a person shows love and sometimes the same person shows enmity. Sometimes people praise and honor, sometimes people insult and dishonor. He knows all these are temporary, and not to get carried away emotionally due to this fluctuating happenings. He fully understands and realizes that the attachment of the gunas and their product alone is the beginning of this tree, and the means for destroying this tree is only detachment from the enjoyments which are the products of these gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas. He has understood that using the short acts of disinterest in worldly enjoyments, this banyan tree, which has grown tall and stronger with many roots, is to be cut off and continue to stay detached from sense object. One should seek oneself, the Atma. The self is the goal to be reached. Having attained it, none returns to this material world. Now we know about this tree, and also we know how or by what weapon we can cut this tree. And the benefit of cutting this tree is also being told, that we achieve that abode where one goes and never have to return into this complex tree of samsara. This all theoretically makes sense perfectly, but practically seems to be impossible task for one to achieve. The reason is, this tree is not an ordinary tree. It's such a strong, tall, deeply rooted with many roots, and the axe that I have to cut this tree is certainly a weak axe, meaning my detachment, my determination are weak to cut this samsara tree. Then how am I going to be relieved from this samsara? Looks like there is no way for me to escape from this samsara. As I always have a contradictory knowledge, my knowledge is not perfect, and my attachment to the guna is stronger as well. Then in this case, it seems there's no hope for me to cut this tree. But Krishna doesn't leave us in this pathetic situation. He gives us solution. The answer for that is the last part of the fourth sloka. Tameva cādyaṁ puruṣaṁ prapadye yataḥ pravṛttiḥ prasṛtā purāṇī. So let's stay tuned for the next session to learn how to make our axe stronger. Namaste. Hare Krishna.